Now, I think Russia strategically and operationally is in trouble in this special operation, as they call it. They haven't made the speed of movement. They haven't achieved their objectives. They don't have the sustainability to be able to keep pushing without these operational pauses. They're looking for something, maybe Chinese support, maybe the use of a chemical weapon, or maybe some kind of diplomatic cover that gives them an opportunity to reorganize and do something later. So they're in trouble. Tactically, this battle will be decided, and operationally, by the amount of munitions, stingers, javelins, and other things that we can help the Ukrainians acquire. They need support, and they need it very badly. The battle for Ukraine is hanging in the balance, really. If we can get enough in there, they'll push the Russians out. It will be a tremendous win for the West, and it'll be a real failure for Putin. If we can't get it in there, this slow grind could continue, and you'll see more Mariupols.
Sean, what about that request for military assistance and economic assistance from China? So the Kremlin is asking China for help. Is that in China's best interest? Are they going to do that?
Well, it's a good point. I think at the outset, we all believed that Russia would have a much easier time overwhelming the Ukrainian forces. And the Ukrainians sent a clear message that they're going to stand and fight, and they've done so bravely. And so I think that's what's happening here is the combination of these crippling sanctions and the Ukrainians' resilience and standing up against the Russians has put Putin in a situation where he is desperate. He's running out of resources. He's isolated. He's up against the wall. And so I'm not terribly surprised that he's reaching out to China. But to your question, I don't think it's in China's interest to go beyond what they've already been doing. And what they've been doing so far is simply amplifying Russia's misinformation. I think that they understand that that's probably as far as they can go, because if they were to help Russia diplomatically or help Russia economically or militarily, the cost that they would pay in terms of their own economy would simply be too great. So I think that this is a conversation that will sort of happen, but it will fall away because China is not going to do anything that's not in China's best interest.
General, on the attack on this military base just west of Lviv on Sunday, a dozen miles or so from the Polish border, of course, Poland being a NATO member. This wasn't a hospital, it wasn't a school, it wasn't a grocery store, as we've seen in some of the centers of the cities. This was a military base. But do you see that primarily as a provocation of trying to provoke Poland and NATO?
No, I see it as a defensive move by the Russians, knowing that they're in trouble because this base apparently was being used to funnel in international personnel. And so they killed a number of these people. And it's an effort really to prevent Ukraine from being reinforced from the outside, at least by additional people. So I'm sure the Ukrainians have already taken measures to correct that. It was a mistake. Somebody let loose the information on it. The Russians monitored, picked it up, and they struck. And I think it was coincidental as to its location. But on the other hand, the Russians are happy to try to intimidate NATO and keep NATO off balance and defensive. So in that respect, it wasn't a mistake, but that wasn't the primary purpose of the strike, in my view.
Sean, we have heard the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, begin to talk about the worst case scenario that everybody is reluctant to talk about, which is, of course, a nuclear confrontation. So let me just play for you what he said yesterday.
The escalation risk with a nuclear power is severe, and it is a different kind of conflict than other conflicts the American people have seen over the years. As things stand today, the United States has not adjusted our nuclear posture, but it is something that we monitor day by day, hour by hour, because it is a paramount priority to the president.
Sean, what happens? What happens if Vladimir Putin goes nuclear?
Well, I think if that happens, then, it's something that we all need to be concerned about. Look, there's no doubt here that Vladimir Putin's ego has been bruised. The disinformation war has not gone as he anticipated. Certainly, he is not doing as well militarily as he anticipated. And as this grinds on and as he continues to have failures, some of the failures that General Clark talked about, his desperation, it's going to be amplified. And so what we have to do is make sure that both here in the United States, but also across the international community, that we lay out clear and conclusive guidelines for what it means if Vladimir Putin crosses that red line. And to be really clear, it's not just about what the United States does. We need to come together with the international community, and we need to speak in one voice and be very clear that there will be a quick and swift reaction should Vladimir Putin move forward. And we need to send that message right now so that he's discouraged in every possible way. But as we said before, he's unpredictable. He's off the rails here. And so we have to be prepared for the possibility that he will use nuclear weapons in Ukraine.